Helen Barnes stood at the large window of her office, watching thousands of children play in the recreation zones below. The sight never got old for her. Even after 15 years of running the Terran Children's Sanctuary, she still felt amazed by how much joy these kids could find despite losing their parents. New Geneva Station was huge. It spun slowly in space around Earth, creating gravity for the people inside. The station was home to 53,000 children from across human space. Their parents had died fighting aliens, mining dangerous asteroids, or exploring new worlds. Now these kids had a safe place to grow up. Helen had been a soldier once. She fought in 3 different wars before she decided to quit the military. Too many friends had died. Too many families had been broken apart. When the government asked her to run the children's sanctuary, she said yes right away. Someone had to take care of the kids who had no one else. The morning alarm rang through the station. Helen smiled as she watched the children rush to their breakfast halls. The youngest ones were only 4 years old. The oldest were 17 and would soon leave to start their own lives. She knew each age group by sight. Her assistant knocked on the door. "Director Barnes, Captain Morrison is here to see you." "Send him in, please." Jake Morrison entered her office. He was the captain in charge of protecting the station. His small fleet of 6 ships patrolled the space around New Geneva every day. Jake was young for a captain, only 32, but he was good at his job. "Morning, Helen. How are the kids today?" "Same as always, happy, loud, and eating everything in sight." Helen poured coffee for both of them. "What brings you here so early?" Jake's face became serious. "We got new orders from Earth Command. The Zephyrian Empire is making threats again. They want us to give up the Kepler colonies." Helen frowned. The Kepler colonies were home to 12 million humans. They grew food for dozens of other worlds. What did our government tell them? The same thing we always tell bullies. No. Good. Helen sat down across from Jake. "Are you worried they might try something?" Jake shrugged. "The Zephyrians are tough fighters, but they have never attacked civilian targets before. They follow the war rules most of the time." Helen nodded. "The Galactic War rules said that soldiers could fight soldiers, but civilians should be left alone. Most alien races followed these rules. It made wars smaller and less cruel. Besides," Jake continued, "this station is clearly marked as a civilian facility. No weapons, no military value. Even the Zephyrians would not be stupid enough to attack an orphanage." Down in the education center, Dr. Lisa Grant was teaching a group of 8-year-olds about Earth's history. The children sat in a circle around her, listening with wide eyes as she told them about the old days when humans lived on only one planet. "Teacher Grant," asked a small girl named Amy, "why did people leave Earth?" "Because humans are explorers, Amy. We like to see new places and try new things. Your parents were brave explorers, too." A boy named Peter raised his hand. "Will we be explorers when we grow up?" Lisa smiled. "You can be anything you want to be, Peter. That is what your parents died protecting. Your right to choose your own future." The children nodded seriously. They understood that their parents had been heroes, even if they missed them every day. In the medical center, Dr. Lisa was also busy with her other job. She checked on sick children and made sure everyone was healthy. The station had the best medical equipment that human science could build. No child ever went without treatment. Meanwhile, in the main communication center, Karen Walsh was having a very different kind of morning. She was Earth's ambassador to the Zephyrian Empire, and she was trying to prevent a war. The blue-skinned Zephyrian on her screen looked angry. His name was High Commander Zach Moore, and he was not interested in talking anymore. "Ambassador Walsh, your species has had enough time to think. Give us the Kepler colonies or face the consequences." Karen kept her voice calm. "High Commander, those colonies have 12 million human citizens. We cannot just give them away like gifts. Perhaps we can find another solution." "There is no other solution. Your people took those worlds from us 50 years ago. We colonized empty worlds, High Commander. Your people had never even visited that system." Zach Moore's eyes glowed red with anger. You humans think you are so smart. You think you are better than everyone else. Soon you will learn that you are wrong. The communication ended. Karen stared at the blank screen for a long moment. Then she pressed a button to call Earth Command. Back on the station, Helen was reading bedtime stories to a group of 5-year-olds. This was her favorite time of day. The little ones would curl up on soft cushions and listen to tales of brave heroes and magical adventures. Once upon a time, Helen began, there was a princess who lived in a castle among the stars. The children's eyes grew heavy as her soft voice filled the room. Soon they would be asleep, safe and warm and loved. Tomorrow would bring new games, new lessons, and new adventures. Helen finished the story and tucked each child into their bed. She kissed their foreheads and whispered goodnight. These children were her whole world now. She would do anything to protect them. As she walked through the quiet halls of the station, Helen felt peaceful. The sanctuary was a good place. It gave hope to children who had lost everything. It showed the galaxy that humans cared about their most vulnerable people. She had no way of knowing that in just 2 days everything would change forever. The attack came at lunchtime on a Tuesday. Helen Barnes was in the main dining hall watching 3,000 children eat their meals. The room was filled with happy chatter and laughter. Some kids were trading their vegetables for extra dessert. Others were telling jokes between bites. Helen smiled as she walked between the tables. A 6-year-old boy named Billy grabbed her hand as she passed. Director Barnes, look what I made in art class. He held up a drawing of a spaceship with wobbly lines and bright colors. That is beautiful, Billy. What kind of ship is it? It is an explorer ship like my daddy had. Someday I will fly to new planets too. Helen patted his head. I am sure you will make a wonderful explorer. She had no idea that death was already racing toward them. Captain Jake Morrison was on the bridge of his patrol ship when the alarm started screaming. His communications officer turned to him with a pale face. Captain, we have multiple jump signatures. Big ones. Really big ones. Jake rushed to the main screen. What he saw made his blood turn cold. Dozens of Zephyrian warships were appearing, out of nowhere near Earth. The enemy fleet was massive. It was 3 times bigger than anything the Zephyrians had ever used before. Get me Admiral Carter right now, Jake ordered. Admiral Rick Carter appeared on the communication screen. Behind him, Jake could see the chaos of Earth's main defense center. People were running everywhere, shouting orders and preparing for battle. Jake, we see them. Every defense fleet is moving to intercept. You need to protect the station. Admiral, there are too many of them. My 6 ships cannot stop a fleet that big. Do what you can, son. We are sending help, but it will take time. The communication ended. Jake turned to his crew. All ships, form up around New Geneva Station, battle stations. This is not a drill. His small fleet moved quickly into defensive positions. Jake knew they could not win against so many enemy ships, but they would try anyway. On the station, emergency alarms began to sound. Helen felt her heart skip a beat. She had heard those alarms during drills, but this time felt different. This time felt real. All children, listen to your teachers, Helen announced over the speaker system. Go to your emergency positions. Stay calm. This is just like we practiced. The children obeyed quickly. They had done this drill many times. Teachers led groups of kids to the safest parts of the station. The youngest children were taken to the center, where the walls were thickest. Dr. Lisa Grant was in the medical center when the alarm started. She immediately began preparing for wounded people. But something felt wrong. If this was a normal attack, the enemy would target military ships first. Why were the alarms so urgent? Karen Walsh was in her office when her assistant burst through the door. Ambassador, the Zephyrian fleet is not attacking our defense ships. They are heading straight for civilian targets. Karen felt sick. What civilian targets? The orbital stations, including New Geneva. Karen ran to her communication equipment. She had to contact the Zephyrian commander. Maybe she could stop this madness. High Commander Zach Moore appeared on her screen. His face showed no emotion. High Commander, please listen to me. New Geneva Station is full of children, innocent children who have done nothing wrong. Humans must learn that defying the Zephyrian Empire has consequences. Those children are not soldiers. They are orphans. They lost their parents already. Please, show mercy. Zach Moore leaned forward. Your people showed no mercy when you took our worlds. Now you will understand our pain. This is against all galactic laws. You cannot attack civilians. Laws are for equals, human. You are not our equals. The communication ended. Karen stared at the blank screen in horror. She had failed. The children were going to die, and she could not stop it. Captain Morrison watched the enemy fleet approach. His ships were moving to intercept, but they were too slow. The Zephyrian ships were faster than expected. Captain, they are not slowing down. They are heading directly for the station. Jake felt his world collapse. All ships, maximum speed. We have to get between them and the children. But it was too late. The Zephyrian flagship opened fire first. Massive plasma bolts shot through space toward New Geneva Station. The other enemy ships followed, filling the darkness with deadly light. Jake watched in horror as the weapons struck the station. The children's section exploded in a ball of fire. Chunks of metal and debris flew in all directions. No! Jake screamed. All ships, attack! Kill them all! His small fleet fired everything they had at the enemy. But 6 human ships could not hurt a fleet of 60 Zephyrian warships. On the station, Helen felt the world shake apart around her. The lights went out. The air filled with smoke and screaming. She was thrown to the floor as another explosion rocked the structure. Dr. Grant was running through collapsing hallways trying to reach the children. She found a group of 40 kids trapped in a classroom. The ceiling was falling down around them. Everyone stay low, she shouted. Follow me to the escape pods. She led the children through smoke and fire. Some of the kids were crying. Others were too scared to make any sound. Dr. Grant counted heads as they ran, 38, 39, 40. They reached the escape pod bay just as another explosion shook the station. Dr. Grant pushed the children into the pods as fast as she could. Get in, hurry. The station was breaking apart. Through the windows, she could see pieces of their home floating away into space. Some pieces were on fire. Others were just twisted metal. Helen Barnes found herself in the nursery section with 20 small children. The 4- and 5-year-olds were terrified. She gathered them around her. It will be okay, she told them, even though she knew it was a lie. Stay close to me. A piece of the wall exploded inward. Helen threw herself over the children, using her body as a shield. She felt sharp metal cut into her back. She felt her blood flowing out. But she did not move. The children were still alive beneath her. That was all that mattered. Captain Morrison arrived too late to save anyone. His ships found only wreckage where the beautiful station used to be. Thousands of pieces of debris floated in space. Some were parts of the building. Others were toys and furniture and books. And some were the bodies of children who would never grow up. The news spread across human space in 6 hours. President Nancy Coleman sat in her office on Earth, staring at the pictures from New Geneva Station. The images showed children's toys floating in space next to pieces of twisted metal. A teddy bear drifted past a broken school desk. A small shoe tumbled slowly through the void. 47,000 children were dead. 300 had survived in escape pods. Helen Barnes had died protecting a group of kindergarten students. Her body was found covering 20 small children who lived because of her sacrifice. Nancy had been president for 8 years. She had seen wars, disasters, and terrible accidents, but nothing had prepared her for this. She had visited New Geneva Station many times. She knew some of those children by name. Her secretary knocked on the door. Madam President, the emergency council is ready. Nancy walked into the main conference room. Around the table sat the most powerful people in human government. General Alex Turner, head of all human military forces. Admiral Rick Carter, commander of the Space Navy. Dr. Eric Palmer, chief of weapons research. And others who made the big decisions. Ladies and gentlemen, Nancy began, what happened today changes everything. The Zephyrians have crossed a line that can never be uncrossed. General Turner spoke first. Madam President, Our current military response plans are not enough. The enemy has shown they will target civilians. Our rules of war no longer apply. What are you suggesting, General? Total Fight Protocol. The room became silent. Everyone knew about Total Fight Protocol, but it had never been used. It was created 20 years ago as humanity's ultimate response to extinction-level threats. Once activated, it could never be taken back. Dr. Palmer leaned forward. Madam President, if we activate Total Fight Protocol, we will be unleashing weapons systems that we have kept secret for decades. The galaxy does not know what humans can really do when we stop holding back. Explain. For 50 years, we have been fighting with restrictions. We follow galactic war laws, we limit our weapons, we try to minimize casualties. We do this because we want to be good neighbors in the galaxy. Nancy nodded. This was true. Humans had always tried to be peaceful with other species. But, Dr. Palmer continued, we have also been preparing for the day when being nice was not enough. We have weapons that can destroy entire star systems. We have ships that move faster than anything the aliens have seen. We have soldiers trained for total war. Admiral Carter added, our current fleet is only 30% of our real military strength. The other 70% has been kept in secret bases waiting for orders that we hoped would never come. General Turner pulled out a thick file. Total Fight Protocol removes all restrictions on human military action. No rules of war, no limits on weapons, no mercy for enemies. Complete and total warfare until the threat is eliminated. Nancy looked around the table. What does this mean for the Zephyrian Empire? It means, General Turner said quietly, that their empire will cease to exist. Nancy stood up and walked to the window. She looked out at the city below. Millions of humans went about their daily lives, not knowing that their government was about to change the galaxy forever. The children in that station were under our protection, she said. We failed them. We will not fail anyone else. She turned back to the table. Total Fight Protocol is activated. General Turner, you have unlimited authority to use any means necessary to destroy the Zephyrian Empire. Understood, Madam President. Within hours, secret messages went out to every human colony and military base. The codes had been prepared decades ago, waiting for this moment. Now they were finally being used. Colonel Steve Murphy received his orders at the hidden military base on Titan. For 15 years, he had been building and training a secret fleet. 300 warships that no alien had ever seen. Soldiers, who had trained for total war since childhood. All personnel, this is Colonel Murphy. Operation Nightfall is active. Repeat, Operation Nightfall is active. This is not a drill. His soldiers had been waiting for this day. They knew what Operation Nightfall meant. It meant that someone had pushed humanity too far. Commander Rachel Brooks got her message on the mining colony of New Ceres. She was not really a mining supervisor. She was a military intelligence officer. Her job was to coordinate with all the human settlements that the aliens thought were just farmers and traders. Attention all deep cover assets, she broadcast on a secret frequency. The children are gone. Activate all sleeping protocols. Show them what humans really are. Across the galaxy, ordinary human civilians received these coded messages. Farmers put down their tools and opened hidden weapons caches. Traders stopped their ships and activated military systems that had been disguised as cargo equipment. Teachers and shop owners and factory workers revealed themselves as trained soldiers. The aliens had made a terrible mistake. They thought humans were soft because humans chose to be peaceful. They did not understand that peace was a choice, not a weakness. Dr. Eric Palmer arrived at the secret research facility on Europa. This base did not exist on any official records. For 30 years, scientists had been developing weapons that broke every galactic treaty. Weapons that could crack planets, viruses that could destroy entire species, technology that could turn stars into bombs. Begin production of all code black weapon systems, Palmer ordered. No limits, no restrictions. Build everything. His scientists went to work immediately. They had been preparing for this day since they were students. Now they would show the galaxy what human science could create when morality was removed from the equation. President Coleman appeared on every communication channel in human space. Her face was calm, but her eyes burned with cold fire. "My fellow humans," she began. "Today the Zephyrian Empire murdered 47,000 human children. They thought this would break our spirit. They were wrong. Effective immediately, humanity withdraws from all galactic treaties and accords. We no longer recognize any restrictions on our military actions. We no longer follow the so-called rules of civilized warfare. The Zephyrians wanted to see what humans do when pushed to the edge. They will get their wish. There will be no negotiation. There will be no mercy. There will be no surrender. To our enemies, you have awakened something that should have been left sleeping. To our allies, stay out of our way." The broadcast ended. Across human space, people watched in silence. They understood what their president had just declared. Humanity was going to war. Not the limited, careful warfare they had fought before. Total war, complete war, war without end until their enemies were destroyed. The galaxy was about to learn why humans had been called the most dangerous species in their home sector before they learned to control themselves. Now that control was gone. The first human attack came 3 days after the children died. Admiral Susan Clark commanded a fleet that did not exist on any official records. Her ships had been hidden in an asteroid field for 20 years, waiting for orders that she hoped would never come. Now those orders had arrived. "All vessels, this is Admiral Clark. Target is the Zephyrian supply depot at Kepler 7. No survivors, no prisoners, no mercy." Her fleet of 50 ships moved through space faster than any Zephyrian vessel could travel. The enemy had never seen human ships like these. They were black as night and silent as death. Their weapons were charged with energy that could melt mountains. The Zephyrian depot was huge. It supplied food and ammunition to 12 different enemy fleets. Thousands of alien soldiers worked there, loading cargo ships and repairing damaged vessels. Admiral Clark felt no emotion as she gave the attack order. "All ships open fire." The depot disappeared in seconds. Plasma beams cut through the station like knives through paper. The Zephyrian shields, which had always stopped human weapons before, collapsed immediately. The entire facility exploded in a ball of white light that could be seen from 3 star systems away. "Target destroyed," reported her weapons officer. "Good. Set course for the next target." High Commander Zach Moore received the news in his command ship. His communications officer was shaking as he delivered the report. "Sir, the humans destroyed Depot 7 completely. Nothing is left." "Impossible. Our shields can stop any human weapon." "Not these weapons, sir. Our survivors say the human ships were different, faster, more powerful." Zach Moore felt a cold fear growing in his chest. "How many human ships?" 50, sir. Only 50 ships destroyed. Our entire depot?" "Yes, sir. And sir, there is more bad news. 3 of our colony worlds have gone silent. We cannot contact them at all." On the other side of the galaxy, Lieutenant Colonel Dan Rogers was finishing his mission on the Zephyrian world of Tal Prime. His ground forces had captured the planet in 6 hours. The enemy soldiers had surrendered after seeing what human weapons could do to their fortifications. "Colonel, what should we do with the prisoners?" asked his sergeant. Dan looked at the thousands of Zephyrian soldiers sitting in the prison camps. 3 days ago, he would have treated them according to galactic war rules. He would have given them food, medical care, and fair treatment. But 3 days ago, those soldiers belonged to an army that followed the rules of war. Now they belong to an army that murdered children. "No prisoners," Dan said quietly. His soldiers understood. They had all seen the pictures from New Geneva Station. They had all lost friends when the children died. The rules had changed because the enemy had changed them first. By nightfall, Tal Prime was empty of Zephyrian life. Captain Amy Johnson led her Special Forces team into the heart of Zephyrian space. Their mission was to capture or kill enemy leaders. Amy had been hunting dangerous people for 15 years, but she had always tried to capture them alive when possible. Not anymore. Her team struck the enemy command base on Vega 6 at midnight local time. They moved through the facility like shadows, using weapons that made no sound and left no trace. By morning, every Zephyrian general and admiral on the planet was dead. Mission complete, Amy reported to headquarters. Moving to next target. The Zephyrian Empire was falling apart. In 2 weeks, humans had destroyed 50 military bases, conquered 20 worlds, and killed every enemy leader they could find. The aliens tried to negotiate, but humans ignored all their messages. Emperor Vex Mal, ruler of the Zephyrian Empire, called an emergency meeting of his surviving commanders. Only 12 had survived the human attacks. A month ago, he had commanded over 200. How is this possible, he demanded. The humans were weak. They followed rules. They showed mercy. Not anymore, Your Majesty, said General Tak Ren. They have revealed weapons we did not know existed, ships we had never seen, tactics we cannot counter. What do our intelligence reports say about human military strength? General Tak Ren's voice shook as he answered. Your Majesty, we were wrong about everything. The humans have been hiding their real power for 50 years. What we thought was their entire fleet was only 30% of their forces. 30%? Yes, Your Majesty. They have 700 more warships hidden throughout the galaxy, ships that are faster and more powerful than anything we possess. Emperor Vex Mal felt his world crumbling around him. What about their soldiers? Every human civilian in the galaxy was secretly a trained warrior. Farmers, traders, teachers, shopkeepers. All of them were military personnel in disguise. Why did they hide this from us? Because they wanted peace, Your Majesty. They chose to be weak so they could live alongside other species without frightening them. The Emperor was quiet for a long moment. And we destroyed their choice. Yes, Your Majesty. Across the galaxy, other alien species watched the war with growing terror. The Altarian Republic called an emergency Senate meeting. The Centauri Federation recalled all their ships from human space. The Orion Alliance began building defenses around their home worlds. Ambassador Veltana of the Altarian Republic stood before her government leaders. Fellow senators, we must discuss the human situation. What situation? Asked Senator Mortex. The humans are fighting the Zephyrians. It does not concern us. It concerns all of us. The humans have revealed military capabilities that exceed our worst fears. If they can destroy the Zephyrian Empire in weeks, they can destroy any of us just as easily. But the humans are peaceful. We're peaceful, Veltana corrected. That peace was a gift they gave to the galaxy. The Zephyrians threw that gift away. When they murdered human children, Senator Dex Olin leaned forward. What are you suggesting? I am suggesting that we have been living next to the most dangerous military power in the galaxy, and we never knew it because they chose not to hurt us. The room fell silent as the senators understood what this meant. The humans could have conquered us all 50 years ago. Veltana continued. They chose not to. They wanted to be our friends instead of our masters. And now? Now they are showing us what they really are. And we should be very, very afraid. Back in human space, President Coleman received daily reports on the war's progress. Every day brought news of another Zephyrian defeat. Every day brought humanity closer to total victory. Madam President, said General Turner, the enemy is trying to surrender. No, ma'am. I said no, General. They chose to murder children. Now they live with the consequences. The other alien governments are asking us to show mercy. Nancy looked at the picture on her desk. It showed her visiting New Geneva Station last year. She was surrounded by smiling children who would never smile again. General, mercy is what we showed for 50 years. Mercy is what those children deserved. The Zephyrians rejected mercy when they chose to target innocents. What are your orders, Madam President? Continue the war until the Zephyrian Empire no longer exists. General Turner saluted. Yes, ma'am. The galaxy was learning a hard lesson. Humans could be the kindest species in known space. But when their kindness was repaid with cruelty, they became something else entirely. They became unstoppable. The war ended 6 months after it began. Admiral Kate Williams stood on the bridge of her flagship, looking down at the former Zephyrian homeworld. The planet was still alive, but it was no longer free. Human occupation forces controlled every city, every spaceport, every government building. "Admiral," reported her communications officer, "the last Zephyrian fleet has surrendered." Kate nodded. "Good. Signal General Anderson to begin Phase 2. Phase 2 was the occupation, not just of this world, but of every planet the Zephyrian Empire had ever controlled. Humanity was not just winning the war. They were erasing their enemy from history. General Paul Anderson received the signal on the planet's surface. He stood in what used to be the Zephyrian Capitol building. Now it was the headquarters of the Human Occupation Authority. "Begin implementing the new protocols," Paul ordered his staff. "Every Zephyrian military facility is to be destroyed. Every weapons factory is to be dismantled. Every spaceship is to be scrapped." His aide looked up from her tablet. "Sir, what about civilian facilities?" "Hospitals and schools can remain. Everything else is subject to review." The Zephyrian Empire had controlled 47 star systems. They had ruled over 60 billion people across dozens of species. Now all of that belonged to humanity. Emperor Vex Mal sat in a small room that used to be a storage closet in his own palace. The humans had captured him 3 weeks ago. They could have killed him, but they chose something worse. They made him watch as his empire disappeared piece by piece. A human guard brought him his daily meal. It was simple food, but it was more than many Zephyrian children were getting these days. "Why do you keep me alive?" Vex Mal asked the guard. The human looked at him with cold eyes. "Because President Coleman wants you to see what happens when someone murders our children." Every day, Vex Mal was forced to watch reports about the dismantling of his empire. Every day, he saw another piece of Zephyrian civilization being torn down. The humans were not just conquering his people, they were making sure the Zephyrian Empire could never rise again. On Earth, President Coleman stood in front of the memorial that had been built where New Geneva Station used to orbit. The memorial was made of black stone and bore the names of all 47,000 children who had died. Commander Lisa Taylor, who had survived the attack in an escape pod, stood beside the president. She was now in charge of building the memorial, stations that would replace the destroyed orphanage. "The first memorial station will be operational next month," Lisa reported. "It will house 10,000 children and have the strongest defenses we can build." "Good," Nancy replied. "What about the other stations?" "We are building 12 more throughout human space. Each one will be better protected than our military bases." Nancy nodded. The new orphanages would be fortresses. No one would ever again be able to harm human children. "Madam President," Lisa continued, "we have received requests from 43 alien governments. They want to send representatives to discuss treaties." Nancy smiled, but it was not a warm smile. "What kind of treaties?" "Peace treaties, trade agreements, non-aggression pacts. They all want to be our friends now." "How interesting. 6 months ago, none of them cared when our children were murdered. Now they want to talk." Nancy looked at the names carved into the memorial stone. Helen Barnes was there, along with all the teachers and doctors who had died protecting the children. Below their names were listed all 47,000 kids who would never grow up. "Schedule meetings with all 43 governments," Nancy said. "But they will come to us. We will not go to them." Within weeks, alien ambassadors began arriving, on Earth. They came in small ships with no weapons, flying flags of peace and friendship. They brought gifts and offered treaties that favored humanity in every possible way. Ambassador Veltana of the Altarian Republic was the first to meet with President Coleman. She sat nervously in the same office where humans had decided to destroy the Zephyrian Empire. "Madam President," Veltana began, "the Altarian Republic wishes to express our horror at the attack on your children." "Where was this horror 6 months ago?" Nancy asked quietly. We did not know how to help. You could have spoken out. You could have condemned the attack. You could have offered aid to the survivors." Veltana looked down at her hands. You Are right, Madam President. We failed in our duty as civilized beings. Yes, you did. We wish to make amends. We offer a mutual defense treaty. If anyone attacks human civilians, the Altarian Republic will consider it an attack on us as well. Nancy studied the alien ambassador for a long moment. And what do you want in return? Only your promise that you will not do to us what you did to the Zephyrians. Nancy did not answer immediately. She wanted Veltana to understand exactly what humanity had become. Ambassador, the Zephyrian Empire no longer exists. Their military is destroyed. Their government is dissolved. Their people live under human rule and will do so for the next 100 years. We understand, Madam President. Do you? Do you understand that we could do the same to any species in this galaxy? Do you understand that we have been holding back our true power for 50 years? Yes, Madam President. We understand. Good. Then you also understand that our mercy is not weakness. It is a choice, and choices can be changed. Nancy stood up and walked to her window. She could see the memorial station being built in Earth's orbit. It would be beautiful and safe and strong. Your treaty is acceptable, she said. But understand this. If any species under your protection ever harms a human child, we will hold you responsible. Of course, Madam President. Over the following months, 42 more alien governments signed similar treaties. They all promised to protect human civilians. They all offered military aid if humans were attacked. They all begged for mercy that they had not offered when children were dying. Dr. Eric Palmer stood in his laboratory, looking at weapons that would never be used. The war was over, but the weapons remained. They were a reminder to the galaxy of what humans could do when pushed too far. Sir, asked his assistant, should we destroy these weapon systems? Eric shook his head. No, we keep them, we maintain them, we improve them. But the war is over. This war is over. But there might be others, and if there are, the galaxy will. Remember what happened to the last species that murdered our children? 10 years later, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his new ship. He was now Admiral Morrison, in charge of protecting the memorial stations that had replaced New Geneva. His son Billy, who had survived the attack as a 6-year-old, was now 16 and training to be a pilot. Billy wanted to explore new worlds, just like his father had before him. Dad, Billy asked, do you think there will ever be another war like the one with the Zephyrians? Jake looked out at the peaceful stars. 43 alien governments now competed to be humanity's best friend. Trade flowed freely between species. The galaxy seemed more peaceful than it had ever been. I hope not, son. But if there is, remember what we learned. Peace is a choice. Kindness is a gift. But if someone takes that gift and throws it away, they learn what humans really are. That's right, Billy. They learn what we really are. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humans could be the kindest neighbors anyone could ask for, but harm their children, and they became something else entirely. They became unstoppable. They became unforgiving. They became everything that nightmares were made of, and everyone remembered.